Abbot General for the Cistercian Order of the Holy Cross. The Bible, for me, as I am sure it is for you, one of my favorite books. I spend as much time as I can studying it and reading it, and I've been doing that for 40, 45 years. I particularly like this version. This is St. Jerome's Bible with commentary. You might remember that St. Jerome was the one who, out of the opportunity to pick from hundreds and hundreds of manuscripts, actually picked the ones that we now find in the New Testament. It's an exciting journey, resharing with St. Jerome his journey and what the Bible means. As I read it, I tried to discover what does it mean to me to be a holy person, in my particular case, a holy monk. And the Bible does a good job at that. But for me, and perhaps for you too, if we could have it put in a simpler, more direct kind of way, a shorter kind of way, a way that's worked throughout the centuries, a way that will work today in our very modern, sophisticated, complex times, wouldn't that be great? The rule of St. Benedict actually has done that for me, and it has done that for thousands and thousands of monks for over 1,500 years, and lay people, and priests, and nuns. It speaks to us all. Some of the things that it says is so great. It starts with the words, to listen. Awfully busy these days to spend much time listening, but to cultivate that art, not only to listening to God in the Scriptures, listening to God speaking in us, at least listening to God speaking to us in community, but listening to what's around us and what's in us and the messages that come that way. He speaks of the journey. Now, wouldn't you want to know, where are you on that journey to a spiritual life? And it will give you an indicator where you are now and where you can go in the future. It gives a good discussion on what are the behaviors in each one of those steps. I want to know, how does a holy man comport himself? How does he relate to the world? How does he relate to his family? How does he relate to other monks? And the description of an abbot in here and what the job curtails is identical to what the head of a household in a family curtails. It can tell you as much as how to love your children and your wife as it does to tell you how to love your fellow monks. Very contemporary. How are we to relate to the world? To be in it, but not a part of it? How do we relate to the things in our household and of the world? And even it discussed how you can run your business. Very, very practical, down-to-earth, straightforward. Accompanying that, another favorite of mine is The Life and Miracles of St. Benedict, another small book. And wouldn't you want to know about the fellow that wrote the rule? Exciting journey. What was his journey to being a holy man, a saint, recognized by the church as a saint and holy man? How is it that he fought with sin? There is a great story in here, and how one time he was lusting over this woman he had met. And his response to that was to curb the desires of the flesh by jumping into a bramble bush and tearing up his flesh. Well, I wouldn't encourage that to anyone today. But it does speak about that when we have sin, we should respond to it quickly, effectively, thoroughly, and without hesitation. Good lesson for us all. There's another story, how he met with his sister, and we know how families can be and how they want our time, and his sister Scholastica actually, wanted more of his time, and when he was about to leave to return back to the monastery, she prayed, and such an awful storm came up that he could not return. The power of the prayer of our sisters. Wonderful visions of how he sees things, that God sees things. Interesting story about saving the life of a child who had fallen into the pond, and the quickness of the response of the monks. And it's one of my favorites is how this group of monks wanted him to become their abbot, and eventually didn't like him and poisoned his drink. As he blessed the cup that day, God, in his infinite power, broke the goblet, and immediately St. Benedict knew of the plot against him, scolded his monks, and left them. To me, that speaks how people who should be for us are often against us, but yet God protects us even in those moments. 2 wonderful books, and I suggest that you read them, study them, make them part of your life. Of course, along with, and yes, St. Jerome's version of the Bible. And may Almighty God bless you, keep you from every evil, bring you to life everlasting.